What's up, guys, and welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K. Ray Knight, here to give you a proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. Absolute Flash has started, and I'm actually kind of excited about this one, mainly because it's Wally, not Barry. Okay, and I'm not saying that I hate Barry Allen. I'm not saying those words. However, I do like Wally West more. So, this one was interesting. This was a very interesting take. So, Wally West is an army brat. He's moved around because his father, who I believe is just like a military scientist, is moving around everywhere. So we start in the beginning in this desert, and he is thinking too fast. All of his thoughts are just going a million miles a minute, and he's trying to focus, and he's saying like he needs to focus the way that she taught him how to focus. And in this I would imagine that he's talking maybe about his mother. What I find interesting about this is that it's described as he doesn't have the Speed Force and he doesn't have a mentor. So I'm like, okay, so how do we get here? So, and what's also really interesting is the way they kind of just flow through the story. It's as if he's remembering things by flowing through time, which is kind of how the Blur's powers work in Marvel, or in Marvel. So we go back to a couple days prior to what's going on, and again, Army Brat, he's kind of just walking around. He gets back to the base. He goes in, and they're like, you know, you're not supposed to be out this late. Your dad's literally gonna like freak the fuck out. So Barry Allen, who is also a military scientist at this point, is just like, you know, don't worry about it. I'll take him. So he does take him back home to the house that's on the base, and he's like, actually, you know, you want to see something? It's like something cool. So they go down to where they are doing all of these experiments, and he's kind of just like showing him around, Big Brother type shit, you know? And his dad, or he's like, you know, I know you're bored. I've seen your file, actually. You're really incredibly smart, really like too smart. And I know because you are like this smart that you're probably very bored. And he's like, I could probably get you a job down here, you know? I'm sure your father wouldn't mind. And of course his father comes in and is like, yes, I would. What the hell are you doing down here? They told me you're trying to sneak back in. And he was like, I wasn't trying to sneak back in. Like, I was out on the town and I just came in late. He's like, you hanging out with all your friends? He's like, what fucking friends? There's no, like, he's quite literally, he walked past a group of kids. He's quite literally by himself. So, then we go back to the present where he's kind of just out, thinking, and he's thinking back about what happened. He shouldn't have, you know, he should have went home. He shouldn't have been with Barry and all this other stuff. And he's kind of just thinking to himself all these crazy ass thoughts. And, a boomerang comes out of absolutely nowhere. So here we are with this rogues gallery of sorts coming to capture him. One obviously looks like Captain Boomerang. The other one definitely looks like Captain Cold. I don't know who the other ones are. But they're going after him, and they're like, you know, dead or alive. He's like, Captain Cold's like, alive for right now. So they're going after him, and he thinks that his father is the one that sent him, or sent them after him. So he starts to run, and they're like trying to head him off. He ends up going into like this cavern, and Captain Cold and Boomerang decide that they're going to go in there to see if they can capture him, right? And the other two are kind of just outside trying to see if he's going to come out the other side. Now, the cavern in which they are is quite possibly where all of this stuff happens. So, he was talking, it flashes back to a day late, or the day before, and he's in his room, and it's kind of like he's like traveled in time with his thoughts, and he's arrived in his room one day prior. So he's in his room playing his guitar, listening to music, whatever, and his father comes in to talk to him about what happened the night before. And he's like, I really, like, Barry saw potential in me, and he's like, you're literally just trying to keep me sheltered. And he was like, you never need to, like, talk to Barry again, ever. And I feel like that's kind of weird, but okay. And that's when he says, if Mom were here, we both would have left a long time ago. And he ends up going back to the lab, and Barry is in, like, this container, and he's, like, telling him to stay back and get away, and he tells him finally just to run. But the way that he gets there, he goes outside, and I can't tell, I think it's raining, but there's this puddle on the ground, and he's about to step in it, and he sees, like, this red version of what looks to be Barry, and they're screaming, and then there are these, like, red squares that appear, leading him back to the facility. So that's how he ended up going back there. Now, still in his thoughts, he's basically saying that he killed Barry, and Barry's body is literally, like, right there. And when it flashes back, it's like he was trying to run in there to help Barry, and all of this stuff started happening. Barry ended up dying. Flashback, or flash forward, actually, to the future. I think it's like a year in the future. He is 15. Okay, so flash forward a year, I believe, and somebody comes to the facility and is opening the file on Project Olympus, which is what Barry was talking to him about, and it kind of just shows all of these different things. It shows Barry, it shows Wally with this suit, it shows a bunch of different stuff, and this person is, like, basically planning on exposing, like, this information, and that's where we stop. Now, I find this very interesting. What I find very interesting is that we have Wally West, who is 16, and we have Absolute Superman, who is also 16. But I'm wondering if this is happening all at the same time. Because having both Clark and Wally West be the same age at the same time when you're about to start the Justice League, and having Barry Allen be older is very interesting to me. And then we have Martian Manhunter, and then we have Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolute Green Lantern, and I'm about to start too. So, like, this is basically, like, the Absolute Justice League that has started. So that's really very interesting in the age ranges that it shows. I actually really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed how they are making it like his thoughts are going so fast, and so, like, every time he thinks, it's like he's time traveling back to the origin of that thought. And it doesn't look like he has access to the Speed Force. It looks like it was just, like, some super scientific thing that Barry was working on, because Barry was talking about, like, different worlds and things like that. So it may not be that he got his powers from the Speed Force. I thought it was interesting that he already had, like, the lightning bolt designs on things that he was wearing, like his headphones. And and of course he doesn't have a mentor, because at that point Barry Allen would have been his mentor, if Barry Allen were, like, the Flash. And he wasn't. He was literally just a military scientist, and he ended up dying before any of this. So the only thing that he has is, like, the things that his mother, I'm assuming, would have taught him on how to calm down, how to get your thoughts organized, how to slow down. So I think that that's really interesting, and I actually can't wait for where this is going to go. This is a very interesting start for this. So I like this. I do. And Flash is not one of my favorite characters. I do like Flash. It's just not one of my favorites. So I'm interested in this. Good start. Great start. But that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office. And if you haven't listened to the podcast, do listen to the podcast. If you haven't got the book, get the book. And I will see you guys at your next checkup.